Thank you for joining me once again. This is my update for the 23rd of October 2025. I have always said Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, these two men are playing European leaders, Ukraine, and you and me like football game. This is all about political game, and these two men are very good at what they are doing. A few days ago, both Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump apparently had a phone call to meet in Budapest to discuss the ending of the war in Ukraine. A few days later, I'm hearing this vibe, getting this rumor that Russia is the reason why the proposed meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin got cancelled because Russia refused to freeze the front line for negotiations to kick off. But we clearly heard Vladimir Putin's term. He said Zelensky's men need to move out of the Donbass completely, and then the front line would be frozen from there. Nobody crosses into each other's section, and negotiation will take place based on the current position, which means the front line would be frozen, right? So where did they come up with this story a few days later that Russia refused to freeze the front line? Can you help me out? Can somebody tell me what is going on here? I always say this, and I will say it again. These two men are playing everybody like a volleyball game. This is political game, and they are good at what they do. The only country suffering all of this is Ukraine. Here is what Donald Trump has to say, word for word. Donald Trump said the United States had announced a fresh sanctions on 2 Russian oil companies because the American patient is wearing out because of the war in Ukraine. These sanctions on these 2 companies is intended to force Vladimir Putin toward agreeing a ceasefire deal with Ukraine after Vladimir Putin's demand had not moved from the last time him and Donald Trump met in Alaska. Donald Trump said because of this, he had called off the Budapest summit with Vladimir Putin. But that is a lie. That is a lie. That meeting was cancelled due to security and safety reason. Hungary and Romania came under heavy attack a few days ago. You all know about what happened when the infrastructures in both countries were attacked. Secondly, the travel route from Russia to Hungary to Budapest was entirely not safe at all. It will be a very risky journey for Vladimir Putin to take. Not that it can't happen, it can happen, but we are talking about head of state here. Any mistakes, the world could go dark, like everything could go wrong completely. So in order to avoid this scenario, they decided to call off that meeting. Now, this is based on my own opinion and what I know so far. That is why I believe that meeting was called off. So all this story they are giving us that Vladimir Putin refused to freeze the front line or because of some sanctions is all nonsense. Don't fall for it, please. Dmitry, the former Russian president, responded to Donald Trump's sanction today. He said the United States sanction on the Russian oil company is an act of war. Drama have started against Russia. Listen, they are playing everybody. Even I myself, I'm beginning to not believe what we hear anymore. Now, Dmitry is saying this is an act of war against Russia because United States tried to trick Russia into sitting down for peace talk to resolve the war in Ukraine when they are refusing to take into account the Russian concerns. So what is the point to sit down and talk when you're not going to take my concerns into consideration? He called the United States an adversary. He said, however, Donald Trump is not at war with Russia. he hasn't shown any indication that he means bad for Russia. But there are numerous neocons in the Congress that are putting pressure on Donald Trump to make this unlawful decision. And unfortunately, Donald Trump has now aligned himself fully with insane Europe. Those were the words of the former Russian president, Dmitry. The United States Treasury said they've sanctioned two Russian oil companies, the Rosneft and the Lukoil, in response to Vladimir Putin's lack of seriousness to commit to peace to end the war in Ukraine. These are the same oil companies that were attacked in NATO territories a few days ago. The oil company that was attacked in Hungary and Romania, and still yet, up till today, as we speak right now, the EU leaders had not said a word, or the world leaders had not even condemned this attack that took place against some NATO countries' critical energy infrastructures. Where is Article 5 gone? They will do whatever they want to do when they feel like doing it. These little EU country things, Article 5 protect them. Make una they play. just continue playing. Now, let's not forget the master himself, Zelenskyy. What has Zelenskyy got to say about all of this? Because you know Zelenskyy always has something to say. Zelenskyy said he thanked Europe and Donald Trump really much for this new sanctions on Russian energy industry. He said this imposed sanction against Russia, he has waited for it for so long, and it is very important. Russia has shown that it does not want to stop this war in Ukraine. This is Zelenskyy talking. Okay, I know. It's funny, I know, but let's talk about it. He said Russia have shown they don't want to end this war in Ukraine, and they are obviously destroying civilian infrastructure, and we have to put pressure on them to stop this war. Sanctions, long-range missiles, and financial support is for the unity, and he wants more weapons and more money to be sent to Ukraine. Ukraine needs the help of the Western allies. This is the same country and the same man that was given eight opportunity to end the war in Ukraine. Russia put forward 8 different peace proposals. Those of you that have not been following, now you know. 8 different peace proposals in the last few years before things got this bad. But they refused it because they thought Russia was weak, because they thought Russia was struggling, because they thought Russia was scared or afraid. I don't know what was going through their mind, but 8 proposed peace deal, and they refused it. They rejected it. And none of those 8 would Russia put forward now, because those 8 peace proposals were very good. Not perfect, but they were good. But Russia will not put those forward now because the dynamics of this conflict had completely changed. Zelenskyy added at the end of his statement, he said, a ceasefire is still possible. We need to put more pressure on Russia for ceasefire. This man that should be calling for the end of the war continue to beg for ceasefire. What kind of human being is this guy? Where did he grow up? Who are the parents? Who brought him up? What kind of life did he live when he was growing up? The man is begging for ceasefire instead of to beg for the end of the war. I don't know what to say. It's just alarming. It's alarming and shocking. Now, remember I told you Zelenskyy was not in Ukraine. I made a video yesterday and I said, I can bet you Zelenskyy is not in Ukraine, because every time they try to escalate the situation against or with Russia, they fly Zelenskyy out of the country. Zelenskyy is currently in Norway and is going to be out of Ukraine for a long time, because they know Russia is still preparing or planning the retaliation for the attack that took place in Bryansk region yesterday, the 22nd of October. So, Zelenskyy is not going to go back to Ukraine for a little while. Now, if you're watching this video, common sense, okay? It doesn't matter whether you support Russia or you support Ukraine, but let's apply common sense. This guy goes out of the country and then tell his men, NATO, to do something. And then when they've done it, Russia punishes the ordinary Ukrainian citizen. But this man goes out of the country. How does that work? How does that align? How does that even sit? Does it make any sense? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What else do I have? Now, let's talk about the 19th package sanction from the European Union. The sanction they've been vibing about for the last 5 to 6 months. The super duper 19 sanctions package against Russia. Don't laugh. I'm going to read everything out word for word so that we don't get it wrong, yeah? Finally, the EU came up with their 19th package sanctions against Russia, the one they've been talking about like God knows, like forever, because there's no more sanction to place on Russia. So they're trying to go for Russian friends, Russian business partners, and so on and so forth. So they said a 19th sanction package had been implemented against Russia, including new additional restriction on the movement of diplomats within the EU, which means Russian diplomats are now restricted from traveling around the EU. For example, someone like Lavrov or Dmitriev or any other Russian top diplomat is now restricted from traveling around the European Union. Ask yourself, do they even go to Europe? They don't. But again, that is one of the main points in the 19th package sanction. The Danish rotating presidency of the EU said their super duper package of sanction is a significant package that target Russian main revenue stream through new energy, financial and trade measure. Well, I don't even know what I said there. Let me repeat that. The Danish rotating presidency of the EU said their new super duper package of sanction is a significant package that targets the main Russian revenue stream through new energy, financial and trade measures. Now, they didn't break it down. They give you all that nonsense, but all of those words you just heard carries no weight. This is just another political display to say we've done something. The EU foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas said the sanction target Russian banks, crypto exchange, entities in India and China, amongst other, which means, like I said, they are targeting Russian friends, Russian business partners, and so on and so forth. The 19th package sanction also include a ban on liquefied natural gas, LNG, and that will take effect in 2 stages. Short-term contract will end after 6 months, and the long-term contract will end in January 2027. We are going to stop buying your LNG, but we're not going to stop right now. You're going to be in 2 stages. In 6 months, we'll stop buying a little bit, and the long-term contract will end in 2027, in 2 years' time. Una bi mumu. Is that how? That's una full. That is the 19th package sanction. Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. Now, finally, they said the EU is also going to restrict Russian diplomats from movement, like I said, from movement around EU country to counter their attempt of trying to destabilize the European Union from within. That is what Kallas said. So all the hype we have been hearing for the last 4, 5 to 6 months, their so-called 19 package of sanction is a joke. In fact, it is comedy. This is shocking. This is unbelievable. is unbelievable. All they are doing is trying to scare Russian friends, Russian business partners, and people doing businesses with Russia. But we know that already failed a long time ago, even before they even thought about it. Now, what about the EU? Talk about double standard or the highest level of hypocrisy. What about the EU that is still buying energy from Russia? They obviously they won't put that in the book, would they? No, they won't tell you. They won't tell you about that. The EU are spending billions upon billions still buying Russian natural gas, Russian energy, but they will never mention that. What about the United States that is still buying this? Is it what do you call this? Rare earth, whatever, from Russia, and see yet energy from Russia. What about those ones? They won't talk about it. They will only talk about little things they want you to hear. They'll tell you what you want to hear. And some of you will love to hear these stories when they mention it. Like, yeah, they've sanctioned Russia. They play. So, ladies and gentlemen, the take home from this update is that they are playing everybody like football game. This is politics, and Russia and the United States, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are the lead in this game, and they're doing they are playing a very good game. 1 minute they say one thing, the next minute they talk between each other and then they change it. But what do you guys think based on everything I've said so far so good today? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and if you have anything new to add, leave it in the comment section.